Oh, I can't see without my glasses.
Hi, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, the Pulpwood Queen, and I'm reporting here from my little cabin in the woods, Murphy's Law. And I'm here tonight with our guest author, Deborah Mantella, who's got a fantabulous read, My Sweet Vidalia. So, and we also have Stephanie Chance, who's one of our book club members and lives just down the road from me in Gladewater, Texas. So I am happy to see all of us here today, I guess tonight, because I don't know about you guys, but it's pitch black here. What about?
No, it's late here. In fact, I before we got on, I looked at my watch, which I haven't had on. I just happened to put it on, and I thought, oh my God, I missed it because I never changed the time.
Oh, you know, I was doing a radio program last night that airs globally to 39 million people. And I just had this panic moment that I was not calling at the right time because she's up in Maryland. So it's like New York time. So trying to keep up with all the Eastern Standard Time and Pacific Standard Time, it gets a little confusing, but we're here, we're recording, and we hope more people will be joining us at our online International Pulpwood Queens and Timber Guys Book Club Reading Nation. So I had a wonderful conversation this week with Deborah. I mean, I have to tell you.
We hit everything.
I have to tell you that the Zoom meeting format is wonderful, but it has opened up a whole new world for me with my authors because I'm having these in-depth conversations, just getting ready for our meetings. And she knows my whole life story now. I know some of hers, and I'm so excited about your book. But let's go back and let's talk about your book, because My Sweet Vidalia is a story that we have had on our reading list for some time, and we are all reading together. We have a book of the month and bonus books of the month. So you were featured for the first time last year at Girlfriend Weekend. Is that correct?
Right. Yes.
So
and what a time it was.
Oh my gosh. And I'm just dying to know what your impression.
Well, let's talk about that panel.
Okay. Yeah, let's do. Because that
was so much fun.
I know.
And our moderator, for those who weren't there, I know Stephanie was there, but Kathy did her hair while she was moderating the panel. And kudos to Susan Peterson. She did not miss a beat. She asked questions.
From Sue's Reading Neighborhood, which is down in San Antonio, which is a wonderful blogger. And hopefully I've got her on board for 2021. But Susan did not know I was going to do that. But I went up to her right before we were to go on stage, and I said, okay, while you're doing this panel, I'm going to give you big hair. She just goes, and I said, I've got everything set up, just sit in the chair and just do your thing. And she did not miss a beat. She
really didn't.
Did it. So it was so authentic and so fluid and so wonderful that next time we get back together, I've got to do it again. But Deborah, you were on I think probably one of the highlight panels of that Girlfriend.
I think so. Yeah. The spray was spraying and the hair was poofing and everybody was talking and I don't know how she did it. I don't know that I would have been able to do it. And she didn't even see herself. No. She didn't have any idea what you were doing to her.
And it just got bigger and bigger. I gave her kind of a roller derby do. I thought it was fun, but she has hair very much like mine, so I was just like cool with it. So I had a lot of fun. For those that are going to be watching this, a lot of people don't know this, but I have basically put myself through college by doing hair. I became a cosmetologist after 2 years of college at the Kansas State University, and I needed the funds to get myself through college. So I decided, because I'm an artist, I thought, well, hair is art. I'll go to beauty school. And I didn't know that it'd take me 43 years and 7 universities to graduate, but I did. I graduated, got my fine arts degree in 2017, and I'm planning on going back in 2022 or 2021, when I turned 65, because here in Texas, you can go to college for free when you're a senior citizen.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Well,
Wow.
if you go to a Texas State University, yes, they have a program. And so I hope it'll work for masters, because that's what I'm going to go back to work on, a master's in creative writing. But we will see. So anyway, I've always been a lifelong learner, and I've always been a reader, and I just loved your book.
Oh,
And
thank you.
we've been talking about this week, we've been talking about your book and the next book that you're doing. But let's talk a little bit. We have so many authors. Stephanie's an author. I want to talk a little bit about the writing process of your book. I mean, what's a day?
That's fun.
What's a day like for you when you're working on a book?
Well, I have gotten a lot more disciplined during COVID.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I used to be, I'll write when I feel like it, and there have been a few other things going on that have kind of changed things. But normally now, I will wake up, I will write from like maybe 7 to 10, 11, 12. And then, and I'm making myself do it now, where I wasn't before, because this book is almost finished, and I've had, made a few changes. The next book, I've made a few changes, and I'm trying to get them all together and ready to go. But it's been fun. I feel like I've gotten more disciplined.
Well, a lot of people have thought that this COVID thing has been, just all negative. But I have to tell you, I have gotten more work done this time in my life than any other time in my life, because I've never had this much time alone. And I've kind of found out who I am too. Mm-hmm. And I've had more in-depth conversations. And when I have a conversation with Stephanie or you, I'm really paying attention. Mm-hmm. Because I realize with this social distancing that we now do not know what tomorrow's going to bring. And we keep getting hit with all these surprises. I just read 10,000 new cases a day in Texas, and Pittsburgh, which is just down the road from me, their hospitals is full. They've got 15 new cases of COVID, and it's really on the uprise right now. So, we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. So every time we're together, I want it to be important, and I want us to have, those conversations that really make us realize just how wonderful it is that you can share the story that you spent. I don't know, most people spend at least a good year.
Oh, I'm one of those people that spends years and years.
Well,
lots of years.
I'm the same way. I've been working on a novel for decades. Mm-hmm. So I figured if I went back to college and got my master's, I would finish that book. But it's too important to me not to have it perfect. And I think, don't you think authors tend to be perfectionists too?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would say recovering, but I'm really not.
No.
I would like to be recovering.
When my first book came out and my publisher picked the cover, I thought, your cover was beautiful, but I thought my cover was silly. And I had so many people say to me, your book is so funny. And I didn't find my book funny at all, but it has a funny cover, because I'm, the first one I was like this, and now in the third edition, it has a new cover. But how important do you think the cover of your book is to your story?
Oh, I think for a lot of people, it's very important. You're not supposed to judge a book by the cover, but a lot of people do. I mean, that's what attracts you. They want the lettering to be so it's visible in a bookstore from across the room. It'll catch your attention, catch your eye. I think it's very important. I wanted a window on my cover, and my publisher was real good about listening to me. I know some people have problems with the publishers, but I wanted a window because I felt like an open window was a very important thing.
Oh, yes.
In the story, I mean, she's standing by the open window, and even though the window is open, it's a case of abuse, and she doesn't get to leave because she doesn't know what's out there really, or she doesn't think she can. So I did want a window, and they came up with a great photograph for the cover. Then they started out with a very, very scrolly lettering.
Hard to read.
It was a little too scrolly for me.
Yeah.
And then the designer just hand did the one that's on there now. I mean, it's not, you wouldn't find it anywhere, but she adjusted it for me. So I get a lot of people really like the cover, and I'm quite happy with it. I'm a blue person anyway, so.
I'm happy with it too. Well, we've read your book, but for those that are going to be listening to this, because this is being recorded, yay, show it again, show it again, it's beautiful. For those that are going to be watching it recorded on my Kathy L. Murphy YouTube channel, what, you know, they always ask you to come up with that one line that will get, you know, kind of your pitch line so everybody will read your book. What has been your catchphrase?
Oh, okay.
Take your time. I never could come up with one.
No, it's hard because I'm so working on the next one that I'm okay. Let me go back a minute. It's a mother-daughter love story, actually. That's pretty much what I call it. It's a mother-daughter love story. It's atypical. You probably won't read another one like it, from what I've heard people say. My narrator is the child. I like to do mother-daughter stories, and I like to flip the roles. So I like to make in this one, the daughter is guiding her mother to a better life.
Yes. And you have two daughters.
I have two daughters, and I do have a son, and I have a daughter-in-law, and I have one grandbaby.
I know. We have a lot of similarities because I have two daughters and one grandbaby, and
thank God for Zoom, because we saw her earlier yesterday. We saw her, and she had her what is that, that song they all sing, the kids, the girl, Frozen. She had her
Let It Go.
But that wasn't the song. It was a different song, but she had that wig on, and then she had her Wonder Woman outfit on. She had two left shoes on, but she did this tremendous dance for us, and she had us all entertained. But we take what we can.
I treasure those times. I spent one whole afternoon just watching my 20-month-old grandson pretend to mow the backyard with the cat walking behind him, back and forth, and he's determined, he's pushing it, and I just, the light, the way it was hitting his blonde hair, and determined that he's mowing the yard, and the cat just following him, Penelope, back and forth. It was I'll never forget it as long as I live.
Never forget it. I know.
It was one of those moments that you just hang on to for the life of it's one of those moments. So I'm glad you got to spend some time with him. That's great.
Yeah, we do. We talk. Yeah, they're in Boston now, so we don't get to see them right now, but maybe they'll be back soon. Maybe they'll be back.
Stephanie was telling me that in Italy, they've got the vaccines now. Is that right, for COVID? Have they got them going? Because she does the trips to
the
Italy.
Trips. I know. So exciting.
Tony's excited because we've got the vaccine ready to go, and there's going to be a lot going into Italy and all throughout Europe, and we're just excited. We're so ready to get back over there and get our tours going, and hopefully April we'll be there.
April, you're planning
we're ready to go. We're done with this pandemic.
I think everybody's pretty much, we'd
like to be. If everybody just wears their masks.
That's right. I wore mine today. I had to go to the post office. I had to go to the grocery store. And, but I saw everywhere I went, everybody had on their masks. I was really impressed. So
they're doing better now. It was tough in the beginning.
I think people are recognizing that it's just a way for us to have mobility, and keep safe and keep our loved ones safe. So, you know, I'm going to be seeing my grandson after Thanksgiving, so I definitely want to keep.
You're so lucky.
I know. I can't hardly wait. And Stephanie's got her family all around her too, don't you, Stephanie?
Yeah, we've only got one granddaughter, so she's at A&E on, but she comes in as often as she can on the weekends, and we go shop or do whatever, you know. And
that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. I believe in seizing the day and enjoying every single day. I just believe that. Just live life and love every day and
travel.
Squeeze as much out of it as you can.
That's right. That's right.
So, what was the hardest part of writing your book? The hardest part?
Hardest part of writing my book was getting myself to sit still and do it. And then the editing was also hard because I'm, you know, as we discussed, a bit of a perfectionist. So I was actually harder on my edits than my editor. And finally he said, that's it. You're finished. You know, this book has to go to press now. I'm like, okay, but I just have one more thing.
One more thing I want to do.
It's, you know, it's. I think it's important, but if you think it's not important, well, then we can talk about it. But he agreed with me. You know, he was good. It was good.
I remember after my first book published, you know, I spent 6 years writing my book from start to finish because it was accepted in 2006, but it didn't come out till 2008. So 4 years and then 2 years waiting and doing all those things the publishers put you through.
Right.
But what I found that because I invested that much time, that I kept thinking I had to keep investing that much time. And Mark Childress told me, I said, what do I need to do now? And he said, you need to start on your next book, Kathy. And, you know, I've been working on it, but I've really got to get disciplined because the discipline to me is the hardest thing. Yeah. I write every day, but it's not necessarily always on a book. It's blogs and it's, last night I was working on.
You're always writing something.
Yeah, we're always writing something. So is there anything that you do in particular that helps you de-stress from the stress of writing a book?
I will read. If I get stuck, I will take a break and read a book that I will really appreciate. But we were talking about listening to audiobooks, and I was never, before the pandemic, I was never able to listen to a book. I always had to have the book in my hand. Now, for some reason, because I guess I get very stressed, listening to an audiobook, and I have to have the earbud in my ear. I can't put the phone over here and listen to it. I have to have it in my ear so that the voice, the narrator, is going right into my brain. There's no distraction. Because if I have the voice coming from over here, even with the television, it's too far away. You know, things get in the way. But when I'm listening to an audiobook and I have the earbud in my ear, it relaxes me. It puts me to sleep. It will put me to sleep. And then I have to go find out where I fell asleep and, you know, where I go back and go back to where I left off.
A lot of people have said that they have trouble concentrating reading since COVID, especially right at the very first. And I experienced that. Also experienced, I had been diagnosed with diabetes too. So my eyesight was not up to par until I got it in check. And so
I didn't realize that was part of it.
Yeah, evidently glucose.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. It was
built up on your cornea.
Okay.
And it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to work its way out of your system. So I had a hard time, and that's why I started watching movies, because so many of our books that we picked through the years have become films, and I'm a big film buff too. And that's one of the reasons why I started the Pulpwood Queen Film Club, because I wanted to talk to people about the books to film and have that conversation.
Yeah.
And so when you were writing your book, did you have any idea? Do you see it visually? Like,
Yes.
could you see actors portraying
Yeah.
your characters? Who
Yes.
would you pick for your characters?
Well, my oldest daughter is an actress. So when I'm writing, I'm thinking screenplay while I'm writing, and the voices, and even more so with this one, because I'm actually writing with a character that she's going to play when it's going to be a movie. Fingers crossed someday. But yeah, I do. I mean, I hear the voices and I see it in my head. I do.
It plays just like a movie in my head. And that's why I would rather read the book before I see the film, because I just watched, the movie about the female chess player that's on.
Oh, the Gambit, the Queen's Gambit. Oh.
It was the most wonderful series I've ever seen on Netflix, and I just got I tried to stretch it out for days, but
don't tell us what happened at the end, though.
I'm going to tell you
almost to the end. Okay.
It's based on a book, but now even to go back and read the book, I would see those characters in my mind's eye.
Yeah, I think so too. So I like to read the book before I see the movie, but sometimes, it's like you said. It was harder for me during the pandemic. I was not able to sit down and read a book. I was not able to hold a book in my hands to read. And for some reason I could write though, but it was harder for me to actually sit down. And that's when I tried the audiobooks. And that surprised me because I could never listen to them unless we were on a long car ride and we didn't have anything else to do, just listening. But binge watching.
I love to binge watch. And I used to be a book publisher's rep, and that's when I got addicted to audiobooks because Tulsa, it'd take me, hours. And I put in a book and all of a sudden it was like, I was there. So, but I don't ride in the car much these days. So
I know. Yeah.
It's a little harder to listen to audiobooks. And I don't watch television. I watch movies, Netflix and Amazon Prime. But I don't, I'm not a TV watcher, unless it's a series. What about you, Stephanie? I know you're a big reader. You like to, she just had a birthday and I brought her some books, but.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyway, Stephanie's kind of like me. We've got everything we need. As you can see, I've got all the stacks of books behind me that are going to be on my 2021 list. And I can't believe I read all these books. But people go, how many did you get? I go, over 600. They go, did you read them all? And I said, I read all the ones I picked because a lot of the books, I'll start them. And even though they may be well written or a great story, they've been one we've had similar books to recently. So I have to put those kind of aside. And a lot of books, they don't fit the vision I see for our globe being more global, more diverse. I mean, publishers tend to send me books that are just Southern or in Texas or Queens, and we're an international book club. So I found that my Pacific Northwest chapters love suspense and mystery. And, different parts of the country like different stories. So I try to mix up all the genres, both male and female authors. And your book came into my view because of Susan Peterson.
I know. Yep.
And so that's why it's really important to me that I feature bloggers I admire across the country because they introduce us to so many great books. I wouldn't have met you if it hadn't been for Susan.
I know.
I adore her.
God bless Susan. Yeah, she's the best too. Yeah.
She's the best. And in fact, I would say most of the authors that I met through either Sherry Staunch or Susan Peterson or Eileen Sanchez, all these people that did, blogger posts, they were the first ones to jump on board when we announced we were going to do the virtual girlfriend weekend.
Mhm.
And, you know, this is all new. First time I've ever done it. And I did it because the authors and the bloggers and people asked me to. And I think that now that I've discovered, you know, how to do Zoom and how to do these meetings, I'm finding it's so much more enjoyable, and the conversation has gone to another level. Don't you agree?
I think so. It just brings us all together at a time when we need each other. And you're going to be able to reach I think so many more people will be reached this way, because some people have trouble making the trip. And although I don't think there's any way to stop being there, I will say that, but I think that it's great for people who wouldn't be able to get there. We'll be able to participate.
This year we're doing it virtually, and we've got an early bird special, so get your membership, sign up at www.thepulpwoodqueens.com. But I'm thinking that for 2022, even though we're going to meet in person, simultaneously, at the same time, we're going to do virtual too, because I think this globally, I mean, people from New Zealand, London, Italy, you know, they can now get on. Zoom is now an international connecting platform. Right. So you can get on and listen to all the authors no matter where you live in the world. And so the biggest thrill for me is when this world opens back up, I want to go back on more trips with Stephanie, because she goes all over Europe. So we can start more chapters globally. When I did the radio show, so the Dr. Asfran Harari, Hashami, I'm sorry, who interviewed me, is from India. And she said, so you want book clubs in India? And I said, well, I'm picking an Indian author coming up in my international book. And I've got authors from Africa and Ireland, Scotland. We've got even an author coming up that is Malta. I mean, I've got authors everywhere. And I said, yeah, I think the whole fun about reading a book is you go there in your mind's eye. And then to me, I want to go there. I want to go where that place was set. And I know when I go with Stephanie, who, honest to God, she is the official tour guide of the Pulpwood Queens, because when you go on her tours, you get to go places that you don't get to go if you just. That
sounds so exciting. Yeah.
Oh, it's fun. In fact, I talked to Heidi today, who runs my chapter in my hometown in Eureka, and she goes, next time you go with Stephanie, I'm going to be your roommate. So Heidi's going to go. So, well, you know, saving up. So I am excited about, of course, this book. It's a selection, but I'm also excited about this book coming up. Is there a teaser or anything you can tell us about the new book? Without giving anything away. I don't want you to give anything away.
Think Janet Fitch's White Oleander meets
good one.
Joan Crawford's Mummy Dearest, while Eleanor Oliphant and her friends observe.
The last book I have not read. I have a copy of it here somewhere. I'll have to read it to prepare myself to see what you're talking about. But the last book you mentioned, that
completely
I want to read that book. It's been on my, you know, I have so many books recommended to me by authors, but I
don't know how you read anything else.
I have to read the ones that are sent to me first.
Yeah.
So,
well, that one's a very good audiobook. Eleanor Oliphant. Yeah, it's a very good. I really enjoyed the narrator.
I need to go on a trip.
You'll like it. You need to go on a trip. Yes.
So I can listen to it. Listen to it.
Yeah.
So, any advice that you want to give to somebody who perhaps is thinking about writing a book? What would be the best advice you could give to someone who?
I say read.
Thank you.
Especially in your genre. Whatever you're writing, you want to read read that. And, you know, when people are, I get a lot of questions from people who are just, you know, they want to write a book or they've started to write a book and, you know, what do you do? Well, there's no easy way to do it. The best thing to do, I think, if you're really just starting out, and even I've had husbands ask me and tell me their wives are writing a book, and I don't know if they think there's this magic pill or something that you take, but I said, you know what? Best thing you can do is, does she subscribe to a writer's magazine? And they'll say, oh no. I think,
Get her a subscription.
get a subscription, tell her to enter a few contests. And then, because I mean, that's what someone suggested to me way, way, way back. And I actually, the book, the short story that My Sweet Vidalia is based on, won an honorable mention in Writer's Digest. So,
oh, congratulations. That's
yeah. So, and so that was exciting at the time. And then I did the next book years ago, because I wrote this book that I'm writing now before I wrote Vidalia, but then I put it away because I wasn't ready to write it yet, really write it. Now I'm doing it, but it did win an award at one of the conferences. So go to conferences. It's hard work. It's not easy. Go to conferences, talk to authors. And I'll tell you, I have to tell you, the best thing I think about being an author is the other authors you get to meet, and people like you and Susan, you know, bloggers and people who you just kind of connect with certain people. Some you're not going to, but the readers are my favorite thing. And they always think when I go to book clubs, I love doing book clubs. So if you hear me out there, I love doing book clubs and I like to Zoom. I'll Zoom your book club. They always think they're learning something from me. I take away so much more.
That's so true. That's so true. It's just like every time you think you're doing something to give to somebody. I spent a year teaching life writing class at a homeless shelter. And I thought, oh, this is so big of me. I'm doing this wonderful thing to help these people. And it didn't take me but one time going to make me realize that, first of all, I did not understand what really being homeless was. It's usually normal, everyday people who make one bad choice that leads to consequences. And sometimes it's totally out of their control. And I found after about a year and leaving every time crying all the way home going, you idiot, you know, what did you think? I found that I became a more compassionate person, a more giving person, and I had a lot more empathy for people I would see standing on the side of the road or you know, laying on the sidewalk. It's not exactly what you think. So I tell everybody, you want to know what it's like, spend a day in a homeless shelter.
And everybody has a story.
Everybody has a
story.
Yeah.
And you know what, you asked me before about a tagline or a way to describe. When you just mentioned choices, it reminded me. The spirit always has a choice is kind of my thing as far as My Sweet Vidalia.
I like that.
And that's what the mama says to the baby. And I'm not going to say more than that, but that's in my prologue. And that's kind of, I like to sign that. People like it. People who've read the book really appreciate it. That just reminded me. You just jogged my memory.
The wonderful thing about those, I read everything. When I read a book, I read the acknowledgments. I read who the book is dedicated to. I read everything, especially all the little quotes. In fact, I've collected quotes and had them all through my first book because there's just some that are just too good to, you know, they're funny, they're poignant, and they make you think. And this next book I'm working on will have some, but it's also, I'm finding that song lyrics, which is a form of storytelling, also bring memory jogs and things to me too.
Oh, yeah.
I always think of Bobby Gentry's Tallahatchie Bridge, you know, the story that she told in that songwriting venture. That's why I like country music and mount music, and because of the storytelling.
Story. Mm-hmm.
And why I like Dolly Parton and Emmylou
yeah.
Harris and Linda Ronstadt. I find that there's storytelling in songs, there's storytelling in screenwriting, there's storytelling in movies. And I think then in every one of them, everybody is basically trying to share a perspective of a profound experience with you. And I feel like the more we acknowledge all the different forms of writing, whether it's songwriting or book writing or storytelling or essay writing, the more we can kind of understand different people. What is the craziest thing that you've had anybody ever ask you since your book came out? We all have somebody that says something to us that just goes, whoa, what is
Well, okay. When my agent was submitting my book, now the story is told in the voice of the spirit child, is the narrator. Don't let that throw you. You get used to it after the first couple pages. But one of the editors who looked at it, she read the story and she was very full of praise for the story, the writing, and she, loved pretty much everything. But she told us, she said, but a spirit child wouldn't talk that way. And my agent and I just looked at each other and thought, well, I wonder how she knows that. So that was I thought that was.
Did you ask her?
Strange.
I would want to know.
No, my agent told me, no, you don't. They say what they say and you don't say anything back.
Oh.
That's what happened, the publisher. Yeah. But I thought that was a pretty funny comment. And well, just a funny thing that happened was when I did my very first at one of the local bookshops, Foxdale Bookshop which is one of my favorites in Woodstock. And they're so great. They've been so great to me. But I had my launch. I had my launch about a year later after the fact because I'm kind of a shy person.
Oh.
I think I am, but I am, and it's not my thing to talk about the book. But anyway, a year went by, and then I did my launch at their bookshop, and it went well. I was, really happy, and I was leaving, and it was a nice day. I had a white sweater on, took my sweater off, got in my car, and I was driving out of the parking lot, and people were beeping at me, and I thought, oh, I'm so nervous. They're beeping at me. And then finally, this couple next to me in their car, they rolled down the window and they said, your sweater is hanging out the door.
Oh, I do that all the time.
Yeah. So
I wear all these kimonos and they always have tails hanging out the car door. Yeah. How embarrassing is that?
Yeah. So there I go. Yeah. There you go. It's always good for the ego. Knock you down a little bit.
I would never have guessed that you were shy.
Really?
Mm-mm. No, not at all.
Oh, yeah.
But I think you're talking about something you're passionate about.
And yeah, that makes a big difference.
You're passionate about, you forget your shyness because
generally I listen. I'm a listener.
Yeah.
I generally listen to people and I ask a lot of questions, and you know that, but I mean, I ask a lot of questions and but that's what I enjoy. I enjoy hearing other people's stories. And when I generally write to figure out something I don't understand.
Oh, that's a good point.
So I put my characters in a situation I don't understand. How did they get into this situation? And then I go through the process and then I figure it out. And sometimes, a lot of times they don't do exactly what I thought they were going to do.
I hear that all the time.
So,
I hear people tell me they hear voices. They hear these people talking to them and then they don't know. And there's always somebody that asks at a book club meeting some obscure little thing that was in your book. And almost every time the author goes, really? Why did you write that? And I go, I don't know. I just wrote it. There wasn't any big, deep thought behind it. I just put it in the book.
Yeah.
And that's
fun when that happens, though.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's really fun when
I do too.
People pick up on little things.
Yeah.
And even things that you put in there, you don't know they're going to pick up. You figure, well, it's not that, maybe nobody will notice. They do. And then it's just, it's so thrilling. It really is.
Have you had anybody from your past show up at a book signing? And
Yes, I did. I was a teacher in my other life. And I taught at Hansel and Gretel Montessori School in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
okay.
And that was many, 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 many moons ago. And I was at one of my book signings, and one of my students showed up. She found me on Facebook. She wrote and said, "Are you Mrs. Mantella who taught at Hansel and Gretel?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "This is so-and-so, Melinda."
She remembered you.
And she remembered me. And then she told me a story about, it that we had, and I completely forgot this until she told me. She said, "I remember when," this was all on Facebook in the Messenger when we first contacted. She said, "I remember when we were in, it was first grade. I was teaching first grade in Montessori school." She said, "And we had a caterpillar, and we had a caterpillar in the box, and we fed it and we watched it grow. And then when it turned into a butterfly, we took it outside, and she said, you were playing Puccini, Madame Butterfly, and we all hugged, and we let the butterfly fly out." And I completely forgot about that until she told me.
Oh.
And it just warmed my heart that she remembered that, because she's a grown-up now.
Yeah, and you thought of that probably since that moment.
I hadn't thought of it. I completely forgot about it until she reminded. Then of course I remembered, but it's just those kind of special. That's a special thing. So that was fun. Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
I think it's fun. I remember having a book signing in Kansas City, and it was freezing because it was in January that I was on tour, and I was with my Pulpwood Queens, and we went to a bookstore, and in walked two girls that were my next door neighbors when I was a little kid.
Oh.
And they lived in the Kansas City area. And it was so great to see the Mary Annie girls, because I had this big Catholic family that lived next door. There were 5 daughters and 1 son.
Mm-hmm.
And we all played together, and it was so great to see them. But it's always, and they didn't really look that much different to me than they did when we were kids, but it's exciting to reconnect with people after so many years. So
That's fun. I did have an old neighbor from where I grew up write to me to tell me that she read the book and tell me how much she enjoyed it, and that she shared it with another neighbor who wrote to me and said, "I don't know if you remember me, but yeah." So that was cool. That's cool. All these cool things. And I get really nice letters from people. It's very special.
that's
Readers. Yeah. Yeah.
What does your family think about your writing?
Oh, they love it. They're very excited they're very excited for me that I'm
Do they
finally
all
doing.
read your book? Do they read your books and read your writing?
Oh, yes. Yes. My husband helps me. I mean, he does my first edits. He looks through it first for me. Yeah, he helps me. And my daughters, of course, they've read numerous times. My son, he just reads a little bit, but he's helpful. He's my grammarian. I'll go to him for help for certain things, but they all pitch in a way.
It's great to have that family support, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it is.
It really
I don't think you can do. I think it would be really hard without a supportive family.
Yeah.
As with most things in life, I think it would be really hard to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you were little, what kind of kid were you?
Oh, I used to read an awful lot. Yeah. And my dad's still my hero. I mean, he was, and I think I said this during one of the Breathless in Bubbles, he should have been an English teacher, but he was an engineer because he didn't feel that he could afford to raise a family on a teacher's salary, which, is very practical. But he was an engineer, but he was my biggest supporter as far as writing. I'm not really a math person, and he's kind of both math and English. So he used to try to help me with algebra and make me do the next chapter. And it would be like, well, it's always better to be ahead of the teacher. I'm like, Dad, I don't even get the last chapter. You're trying to get me to the next chapter. But then when it came to writing, we were on the same. He was very strict. I have his dictionary, his college dictionary, on a stand here now. And he used to say, whenever I would ask him, Daddy, what does this word mean? He would say to me,
look it up.
I'd say, Daddy, you know what it means. Tell me what it means. He says, I know what it means, but you don't. Look it up. And I did the same thing to my kids, to their dismay, but I did the same thing to them.
When you look it up, you remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you remember it so much better than if you just are told.
Well, and that's why I like a thesaurus. I mean, I like the book, a thesaurus. And I was a weird kid because I thought when he gave me a thesaurus, I thought that was the greatest. You would have thought he gave me a pot of gold. I thought, oh, I couldn't believe that there was such a book. And I was young, but I was just so excited to have a thesaurus.
My favorite thing to do when I was a kid was I had a notebook and a pencil, and I had encyclopedias, and I'd read them. And then they'd have a page in it that would be identification of clouds. So I would draw the clouds and write them all down in the notebook. And I learned, what the different, cumulus and cirrus and all these different clouds was. And I loved to read dictionaries and encyclopedias, and people they always thought that was strange.
Yeah. Oh, well.
But I
takes all kinds.
I liked it. I like unusual words. And so when you become a reader and you read as much as I do, if I see a word I don't recognize, I've got my dictionary right over here, the big thick one, yeah. I go and look it up. But do you know that right now in this world, dictionaries are being downsized. They're getting rid of nature words to fit all the new technology words.
Oh, I was not.
I don't know if you can see it, but up on my it's called The Lost Words. It's a book by Robert McFarlane, but he illustrated the words they're taking out of the dictionary, like dandelion, kingfisher.
They're taking them out of the dictionaries?
Yes, because they're putting in words like, Zoom, different technology words. Because if you think about it, as we accumulate words and they get thicker and thicker, it costs so much to print these dictionaries that they got to get rid of something, but not the nature words, because I'm a nature person. So I just find it, in fact, my grandson's named Hawthorne, and that's one of the words that they want to take out. And or briar, or thistle, or I just no, don't take out those words. We may not use them as much, but they're important to read. So I'm all for championing, and that's why if you see an old dictionary, I got mine at a library sale for $1. It's like a tome. Grab them, because the new dictionaries don't have those words. Didn't know that, did you?
Good tip.
Yeah, great tip.
Good thing to know.
So, do you use libraries when you work on your books at all? Do you do any kind of research or anything that?
Oh, I do a lot of research. I do. Depending on what the book that I'm working on now, the facility in the book is based on a kind of a school that existed, or that still exists, in Pennsylvania. And mine is a fictional accounting of the same type of school, because I have a different socioeconomic group using this school. It's more of a la-di-da school, the one that I'm using, facility. School, yes, school and institute, we call it. I'm not going to say any more about that, but I did, I knew a lot about the school. My husband worked there when he was in grad school, so I knew a lot about it. but I have a couple books on it, and I have a lot of books on walking on eggshells and different types of personalities and that type of thing. And then when I did Vidalia, I had to do a lot of research. I mean, I know more about kudzu and moonshine than I ever thought I would, because I did have to research all that. But it was fun. It's
Yeah, I
fun.
think it's important. A lot of people have to research for time periods and things that were popular, or,
Yeah.
you know, especially if you're writing historical fiction or things.
And you want to get it right. You have to get the time right.
You don't want to put a slang term. You know, when I read Little Women, there were a lot of slang terms in there that I adopted, like how capital. I would say that at school, and the kids would all just look at me like, capital? What are you saying? You know, this was the 60s, you know, but I find when they use certain slang that it's got to be right, or else the story won't ring true.
Right. You have to be very careful. I mean, you're asking people to follow you into a world, and you want to make it right for them.
Right.
So you just have to be careful with all the details.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we have been talking for a long time.
We have.
And I just thank you for all this insight that you've given us on your book. I mean, it's always interesting to hear from the author's mouth. You know, it's kind of like when you read a book by yourself, you have kind of a one image of it. Then when you discuss it with someone else, the picture gets a little clearer. But when you bring the author into the picture, it's fully developed and focused. And I think it's important that authors, you know, that's why it's really important to me that we create these connections with the authors, because if you really want to understand a story, you need to know where it came from. And what was the
merit.
You know, yeah, why you chose these particular stories and why they're important to you. If you wanted to leave us with anything about your writing process or the books you write, is there anything in particular you would like to share with us?
Oh, well, I guess beside the people that you meet, the best part of being an author is being able to walk around in someone else's skin. And that's kind of borrowing from a quote by Atticus Finch.
Atticus Finch.
Yes.
My favorite book of all time, because I use it, and I misquote it all the time, but I use it so often because you never truly understand anybody until
you walk around in their shoes. Yes. Right. And I think that that's the biggest perk of being an author. I really do. Because like I said, I write to understand things I don't understand. So I can put myself in this person's
shoes,
persona, walk around in this person, and I can see things from a different perspective, because that's the way my mind works. Maybe, you know, it sounds kind of weird when you say that to people who don't write, because I don't know if they just look at me like, okay, that's nice. You hear voices.
It's kind of too like when I create art, they go, where does this come from? Right. And I go, I create the worlds I want to see. Mm-hmm. Everything I do comes from all the imaginations from my reading and being in nature, and I create the things that I want to see. Mm-hmm. And I think when writers write a story, they write it in a way there's resolution for them. And a lot of times, I remember Cassandra King, Pat Conroy's wife, said, I write it the way I wanted the story to go. And I thought that was a wonderful testament to her writing. But if we wanted to book you for a Zoom, what's the best way to get in touch with you? What would you like me to share with all the
go to my Facebook page, Deborah Mantella author. Go to my Facebook page and just leave a message, or go through Kathy and she'll let me know.
And you have a website too, don't you? Don't you have a website? A website?
I had a website and then something happened with it, so I'm working on another one now. So hopefully.
Okay, so go to Facebook, Deborah Mantella, and I will help you connect with anybody. And she's happy to do Zooms or other types of
Skype or whatever they come up with.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're happy to make that connection. So we're really
Thank you for everything you do, Kathy, because you've been like an angel.
Oh, now that's what I always say about Stephanie. She's like an angel to me, but you are too. I mean,
Thank
I
you.
talked so much to Deborah the other day. I felt guilty when I got off the phone. She listened to everything I said. I felt like I'd been to a psychiatrist, and
Thank you.
I cannot thank
Feel
you.
good.
I cannot thank you enough because I left feeling so much better.
Oh, good. I'm so happy.
I am
I'm
too.
so happy.
We're gonna have to do this
Deborah.
more. I promise to let you talk.
Your
I
home is
I want to
beautiful
talk some more
inside.
after I read
Thank
it.
you.
I really do. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you,
Thank
Stephanie.
you for
I
having
know.
me. Thank you, Stephanie, for coming too.
Your home is beautiful inside.
Yes.
Yes, I
Thank
love.
you.
What's the
Thank
little
you.
twinkly lights here on the side? Is it just branches?
It's a little tree I have by the door,
Oh,
by the window. Yeah.
it reminds me of those lights I gave you, Stephanie. It's
I
got.
know, that's what
I love
reminds me
twinkly
of.
lights. I'm a twinkly light girl.
I am too,
I
and
love-
your whole house is like it's staged to just. It's a reflection of you. It's just
Oh,
beautiful.
thank you.
Yeah.
This is my Zoom area.
Well, thank you, Deborah, and we will all be in touch. I know this weekend, I'm going to give a plug for Stephanie. I'm going to be social distancing with mask and traveling to her shop because
Okay.
Decorate Ornate is having a holiday open house this Saturday.
Okay.
I'll be there pretty much all day, but it starts at 5 and the town just puts out this wonderful outside event for children, a Christmas
Oh,
experience.
that sounds fun.
It's really, how many years have we been doing this, Stephanie?
I've been in the store 21 years and you've been coming for many years. So
And she also lets me put my art in there. So I'm putting in all my new collections. So thank you, Stephanie, this Saturday. And her books are there too. And we will see you at our virtual girlfriend weekend, which I'm really pumped about. And you're going to be on which panel this year? Are you?
I don't know. I don't know yet.
Well, I'm getting with Susan. I'm
okay.
going to get with her this week and
Okay,
see.
are you going to do her hair again? Oh, no, you can't. How
I
are you going to do that virtually?
I can't do hair. I guess I could braid my hair while I'm talking.
You know what you could do? You should do a, what do you call it when you show people how to do something on, you know what I mean? A how-to video?
I did a Jason Momoa scrunchie video because my daughter has these Luna scrunchies that she hand makes, and he put out a challenge to show how many different ways you could use a scrunchie in his hair. So I did a video, but it's one of my first ones I ever put up there, and I have to laugh about it because I thought the video was over. I'm talking about myself, and so. As it wasn't, so I took off my jacket that I had on because I was burning up, and I noticed when I turned around, the whole back end of my bra was showing, and in this tank top, and I thought, you know, I'm sorry, folks.
These things happen.
Blonde queen. So
happens.
I don't take myself very seriously. I mean, I try to present myself the best way I possibly can, but I'm really just a tomboy introvert, and I have just found my voice by being a reader, reading all.
You have found your voice, yes. And Stephanie, do you do shipping?
Well, I ship from Europe to my shop, but I mean, I've shipped stuff. People will find things on my website or whatever,
Okay.
you know.
So it's your website?
Yeah.
Go by that? Okay.
DecorateOrnate.com, and you can see all of Kathy's art too on the website.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good for everybody to know.
Well, and if anybody buys my art, I go over and get it and I ship it.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
you know, Stephanie's too busy she's got so many things going, and her
Yeah.
store is a visual feast. I mean, you see.
Oh, I love seeing the pictures. I love seeing the pictures of
my
your store.
house.
It's gorgeous.
Half the stuff in my house has come from her store. In fact, I was looking at, I've got my India picture on the wall. I've got,
I don't live closer.
yeah, we share the same taste, and her home is gorgeous. It's
I'm
better
sure.
than a museum,
I'm sure.
because she has so many things from Europe. So thank you for joining
Okay.
us.
Thank you for
We'll
having
be coming
me.
back together in January 14th through the 16th for a
Ooh, it's exciting.
Girlfriend Weekend Zoomathon slumber party. So
Yes.
everybody get your membership. We have
Pajamas.
four
Okay.
different memberships at www.thepulpwoodqueens.com. And the packages are up and they're selling briskly. And so I'm really excited about that. And we're going to have this Zoomathon weekend with all of us talking and wearing our PJs. So as soon as I get done getting this downloaded and up, I'm going to be back on my International Pulpwood Queens and Timber Guys book club page, posting photos of authors in their jammies with their book. I'm putting up their book cover, them in jammies. Some of them are even in bed. Betty Lee Crosby and R. Scott Boyer took pictures of them in their jammies in bed. Two of my authors came forward, and I have to tell you all, they go, "What do we do if we sleep naked?" I go, "Well, I'll tell you what you do. You see this stack of books that I've got? You stack up all your books, and then you just get behind them and strategically plan it so that you can't see anything and take a photo." And they go, "Oh my gosh, we'll buy some pajamas." But anyway, we're going to have fun with it. Everybody, all the authors, all the moderators, all the keynotes are dressing up. So go to I only have one page now that I'm posting on, is the International Pulpwood Queens and Timber Guys Book Club Reading Nation. And that's for film club, book club. And my homepage under my name is just for me sharing my art and beauty. So thank you for joining us, Deborah. I love you so much. I'm so glad you introduced us.
Oh, I know.
We're becoming the best of friends, like me and
We're best friends.
So I cannot tell you, I adore authors so much. I put you up on such a pedestal that I have devoted my life to promoting you, and it's such a joy to share your stories. So everybody,
you're a joyful person. You just exude joy.
Well, you can go to www.bookorg.com/shop/the Pulpwood Queens bookshop, and all my books for 2020 are up there that you can order. And when you order it from that bookshop.org site, which is up on my website, it benefits independent bookstores all over the world. Yes. So that's important to me. And so my 2021s, once I make that December announcement, I'll also be putting them up on that page. And all this is going to be going online December 1st. So I'm on a time crunch. I'm working day and night. I was up I don't know if you can see how tired my eyes are, but I stayed up all night last night working on Tamara Bolton's introduction to her new book that we're publishing with Lucid House. So I adore doing this, and I adore you. So thank you for joining us.
And the feeling
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie. So glad to see you again.
See you all Saturday at Decorate Ornate, and I'll see you in January, but we'll talk. We'll talk before that.
We'll talk. Yeah.
We'll talk. So bye, everybody.
Okay,
we'll
bye-bye.
See you next time. It's all about the story. Bye-bye.
Right. Okay. All right. Bye-bye.